box for sign. You're listening to the talk box. Let's talk about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah, you're listening to the talk box for sign. You're listening to the talk box. Let's talk about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
All right, you guys. Good morning, and welcome to the Talk Box Show. It's your girl Sonia here on the Talk Box this morning. We're here with part 2 of relationships, and I have my awesome, my wonderful, my beloved firstborn here as the co-host today on the Talk Box, Mr. Devon Crutchfield. Woo! Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. How y'all doing? How you doing, Mom?
I'm doing good. It's good to see you today. It's always good to see you. But before we get started, I just want to tell you guys to rise and shine. Don't just be alive, start living. And so, this show is designed to give you morning motivation to help drive you while you're on your journey to abundant living. So you already know what I say. Every day above ground is a good day. It's a day to get some things right that we didn't have quite right on yesterday. And so we're going to dive in today, you guys. Good morning, Pam. Good morning, Nate. It's good to see you. We're going to dive right into this relationship part 2. I don't know about you guys, but I had an awesome time on yesterday. So again, Dee, thank you so very much for coming and being my co-host on today.
Thank you for having me. Definitely.
Well, what's going on with your relationship-wise?
Well, I think yesterday when we talked, and it seemed like we were both in agreement about the number one thing, most important factor being working to meet each other's needs. It seems like, at the end of the day, we both understand that's the foundation. That's what we're really trying to do. And so today I wanted to talk about 3 different areas for basically taking this fundamental concept and really applying it in life every day, like the specific steps, the how-tos of actually how you go about identifying their needs and meeting them consistently, making sure that's a habit. And so there were 3 aspects that we've done in our relationship. They're really practical tips that I wanted to share. So the first thing that I wanted to discuss was identifying their needs. Obviously, if you're going to meet their needs, you've got to identify their needs, and you've got to clearly express what your needs are. And so I think one of the most important things that we did for that is before we got married, we did like a self-guided pre-marriage counseling course, basically is a good way to describe it. So we went out and we got this book, classic called His Needs, Her Needs. And I know you've heard of that. And then we got the accompanying workbook to that. And then basically every night for some weeks, we would read some of that book and that workbook and go through those lessons together. And I thought that was before we got married. If you're any type of kind of long-term committed relationship, I don't think it necessarily has to be like a pre-marriage counseling thing, but I think it can help at any time. But that's what we did. And it was enlightening to see what her needs were that I wasn't necessarily aware of. It's more of a formal process because it's easy. If you just ask somebody their needs, they may not take a full inventory of all the things that might be applicable. So it really helps you to systematically identify needs, identify your own needs and share them. And I think that's really important. And then not only does it help with the needs, identifying those needs, it also kind of sets this stage where you guys are both willing to work on your relationship. Right. Like a lot of people, if they're having problems, they don't want to go to any type of therapy. They don't want to take like real steps to improve the relationship. And I think it just kind of, it sets the stage. It sets the example. This is something.
I have something. Let me break in right there.
Mhm.
I think that the his needs, her needs workbook, that is a great asset and great tool to use. But you also need to do that periodically.
Yeah.
Because your needs sometimes change as we get older. They change when you're young in a relationship. You don't have any children, so your needs are different. Then you have kids,
Mhm.
and your needs change. So I believe that that's something that you should take a look at periodically.
Absolutely. So, and then that segues into, so first of all, of course, whatever their needs are, you meet those needs. But that's actually my second of the three things is this habit of periodically asking them about their needs and how well you're doing meeting their needs. So, and Angelique can attest to this. I'll kind of naturally ask probably every 2 to 4 weeks. I'll basically ask, hey, are you happy? Is there anything I can do to meet your needs better? And that kind of gives you that opportunity to go in and adjust what you're doing in case they're needing something different. Like so for example, when she's busy with school and work and everything, sometimes things will get off balance or whatever. So, like for example, right now, my job is, or basically something that I've done is I'm looking after the kids from like 4 to like 8 consistently, 4 in the afternoon to 8 during the weekdays. Normally, that's not something that I would do. I usually wouldn't start hanging out with the kids till about 6 after I worked. I'm kind of cutting back on my work because her work picks up. Those sort of things kind of, by asking them, hey, are you happy? Are your needs being met? You can find out about things that have changed, and then you can, change your behavior accordingly.
Yeah,
Oh, and then
that's good.
another thing about this that I realize is if you don't ask them periodically, you really don't know. So, one thing is like, for example, if I'm really busy, your partner may not feel comfortable expressing to you that they actually need something in this one area of their life, they're not necessarily happy about because they see that you're already busy and they see that you're grinding hard with work or they see that you've got all this stuff on your plate. So they don't necessarily want to come to you and tell you what they need. And so the only way to give them the comfort to actually express their needs is to go out and ask them what their needs are. And then you can, clarify to them, my work for me in particular, I'm way less concerned about my work. I'm totally willing to set aside my work in order to meet your needs if you feel like I'm not doing something. So like now, if she's like the house doesn't look good, I can just take a day off. I mean, I own the business. I just take the day off and clean, and I'm literally 6 hours, 8 hours to spend just cleaning and doing stuff around the house. So I mean, I think you have to go out and ask.
Mm. Yeah, well, if you don't, like you said, if you don't ask, you don't know.
Right.
And that kicks right back to um, communication. Communication rule the nation.
It is.
If we can't in a relationship, we should be able to communicate and talk to each other about anything, whether those are hard issues or something light. Because one thing that I know is this: what's most important to me may not be most important to my partner.
Absolutely.
So I gotta bring it to their attention to let them know that this is important to me. And sometimes something may be important to your partner that you don't understand why it's that important. But if it's important to them, then it should become important to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny because we're talking and that lines up exactly with my notes that I have here. Because we had a situation where basically we've had one rocky period in 10 years of marriage. And basically this was when I was first getting started with the business. I was working like 80-hour weeks. I was sleeping on the office floor trying to get this software developed. I mean, staying up all night. It was just a very rough time. And then she was having a very rough time at her job too, with a lot of hours and work and stress. And one of the things that I was doing was I was kind of consistently cleaning up the kitchen and the house, and I was consistently helping out. But in my mind, the thing, so for example, for the kitchen, every day I clean the kitchen, it's messy again by the end of the night. So it almost felt like to me, like if I'm busy, I'm trying to get this big business off the ground or whatever, me letting these minor things kind of slip didn't seem like it was a big issue at all. Now, what I've since learned is basically having a messy environment causes her a lot of like very real stress, and it makes her,
Stress.
yes, and it makes her deeply unhappy. And I wasn't aware of that, and she didn't want to come to me and put more on my plate. I had a lot on my plate at the time. And so what I have learned is, just like you said, it doesn't even matter if you understand or get it at all. It doesn't make any difference. You don't have to understand what your partner needs. You just have to find out what they need and do
meet it.
exactly.
And here's the thing too. We are two imperfect people trying to walk as one. And I think the word says that that's a great mystery, and it really is. And we sometimes miss the mark, but it's so important. But again, it's about communication. I wanted to let you know too, D, that Erica is on, your cousin Erica.
Oh, hey,
Erica Fitzgerald.
Hey,
She's on this morning. Good morning, Teresa. Good morning, Nay. We got a lot of people on the line. So we welcome you guys to the Talk Box Part 2, relationships. You said that the first one was, what was the first one?
Basically his needs, her needs, and the workbook.
Yeah.
And
the workbook and that sort of thing. That's good stuff. Because sometimes we enter into relationships. It don't necessarily have to be a marriage. You'll enter into relationships and not knowing what's important to the next person, not showing or sharing what's important to you, and that is a cocktail for disaster. Anybody that you cannot have a meaningful conversation with may not be the best person to enter into a relationship with at the time. And I understand that some of us are already in relationships or already in covenant. Now, when we're already in covenant, that's a whole different ballgame. But some of our headaches we can alleviate by not even participating in the first place. When you talk to somebody and you find out their needs and you know that you can't meet those particular needs, you meet a man, there's a lot of ladies on right now. You meet a man and he says, well, I have to have 2 women at a time. And you know that you can't handle a cheating man. You don't need to be in a relationship with that man. If you meet somebody and you already looking at them and seeing that they squander their money, all you got to do is spend a little bit of time. My pastor says that if you show me your wallet, your bank account, I know what's most important to you. And so you spend a little bit of time with people and you see them squandering their money, and you know that you are a saver, or that you have a direction or a directive for every dollar that you make. You may not need to get into a relationship with that person.
Agreed.
But communication rules the nation.
It does.
Okay.
And another thing kind of on that topic is, from the man or the woman's side, is if you are that guy or that woman that feels like you need more than one person in your life and that you just can't be faithful to one person, then you have to be willing to express that need as well. So I think a lot of men, particularly men who have issues with like chronic cheating, I think they have a problem being honest with themselves, I suppose, about the fact that they don't really want to be with one particular person. And if that's how you feel, you've got to just say what your actual needs are. You can't be embarrassed about them. You can't be,
they're yours.
About it. Yeah, they're your needs, and you're not going to be able to kind of live fully unless you express your actual needs. And so if that's an actual need, then you just have to be honest about that.
And not only that, you got to give the other person the opportunity to say whether they're gonna deal with that or not.
Exactly.
One of my things, truth brings about trust, but we'll talk about that later. But communication just means the most. And I'll say this, from a spiritual perspective, if you know that you're a chronic cheater, and you don't know how to keep it in your pants, and you don't know how to stick with one person, you don't need to get married.
Right.
You need to stay single. See, a single person, my husband always say there's not any rules or laws for single people. But once you're married, the whole ball game changed, unless you in Utah. And they let you have all these different wives and stuff like that. But if you find yourself like that, and in this season, D, it's not just the men. Right. There's a lot of serial cheating women as well. And so we just gotta be real with yourself. I need more than one person. But a lot of times, even in that, let me take this as a teaching moment. Even in that, a lot of times you need to do some deep soul searching. There's a reason why you're trying to piece a woman together, whether it's from childhood trauma or that you've been hurt in past relationships, and you just don't trust nobody with your heart, and you done got in the mode of, I'm gonna hurt y'all before you hurt me.
Yeah.
So basically that goes back to yesterday. You need to heal before you get into something else. Go ahead, baby.
And I think, from a man's perspective, there's no doubt in my mind that there are men who are hurt, right? But I think that honestly, a lot of men, it's an interesting, fun activity to chase women, and we're kind of in the habit of it, and we enjoy it. I think that we also have a habit of overestimating the joy and pleasure that we get from other women, new women. Wow. I think that because if you're going to do it and you're going to do it, you can't really have as much enjoyment with it, because you have to do it in a protected way. And then you have to, it's a lot of work, honestly, unless you're like a very wealthy or famous man. It's a lot of work going out there and chasing these women. And then if you do something with them, if it's protected, then you get less enjoyment out of that, anyway. Whereas with your wife, she knows what you like already. A lot of times we go out here, you meet a new girl, it's awful. It's not really what it's cracked up to be. You don't really enjoy spending time with her. In the bedroom, it's not as good as you would think it would be, because they don't really know you like that. And they don't know all the things that you like. And so you wind up spending all this time and energy pursuing and money. Yeah, definitely. Pursuing these activities that at the end of the day, compared to your partner at home, they really just don't really compare. And, if you're other than novelty, and to me, novelty is not a reason to destroy my relationship at home, or to, risk not being able to be in my kid's life because we have a divorce type of situation. It's just not worth all that. And I think a lot of the men, and especially some of these dating gurus who are all like, hey, even if I'm married, even if you're a married man, you have to have multiple women. I feel like they've never dated 3 or 4 women at a time. They've never had a lot of novelty to realize that, it's not that big of a deal. It's not worth crashing what you have at home. And so I question a lot of men who just consistently out of habit do that, because it seems like there's a lot of diminishing returns. I don't think they're getting as much out of it as they think they are.
Well, let me rebut on some of the comments that's in the bottom. Anisha Frisbee, I disagree with sex is overrated. I am one of the women who say that sex is high on my totem pole. But what happens, I believe, now I'm not a man, but you're chasing all these new things. It's like anything that's taboo, it get, you think it's exciting. But I remember having a conversation with my ex-husband, and he said to me, when we sat down and hashed it out, he was like, I don't know what I was looking for. I had everything in you at home. He said, even the people I messed with, their sex wasn't even better than yours. And it's like you chasing. And so sometimes, whether it's a man or a woman, you're chasing a bone. But those things are designed to take away the beauty that you got at home. That's why I thought it was so great that you said on yesterday. And if you missed the show yesterday, you guys, y'all need to go back and look at it. That's why you have to safeguard that thing. Is it worth it? I just wrote in the chat, don't take the risk. I need all of y'all to write in the chat for me. Don't take the risk. When you have something good, when God has blessed you, don't take the risk of losing that thing. And I think sometimes, whether it's the man or the woman, you take for granted that she's going to be there. She's going to get over it. She's going to look past that. She's going to forgive me. But I'm going to tell you something. A lot of times it's the straw that breaks the camel's back. You might was cheating on a major scale. And she looked past it, and he looked past it. But then you go and wink at somebody, and that'll be the day that it's destroyed. So don't take the risk. When you have a blessing, when you have a gift, you protect your gift at all costs.
Absolutely. And then I wanted to piggyback off that about, the bedroom aspect, the sex is overrated part. So to me and a whole lot of guys, sex is probably the number one need that we have. It's if it's not number one, it's very high up there. It's very important. So it's not necessarily that it's overrated. It's that novelty is overrated. So I absolutely need that, and it's not overrated in my marriage and at home. But the idea of chasing new women is overrated. So I would just kind of rephrase that a little bit to because it is important to us at home.
Well, I believe that sex is a number one need for men. I believe that the number one need for a woman is intimacy. And I believe that our Creator created it that way intentionally. So yeah, I think that's your number one need. And my dad used to say I needed to be a boy, this, that, and the other. But when my sex life is good, I can go out, I can make money, I can go out, I can look beyond all of everything. And so I kind of get it. When I counsel people and they're telling me that, well, she don't want to do nothing. She says she mad. Well, I get it, but get over it. You can't even stay mad at somebody if you got a healthy sex life. You can't even stay mad at them. You'll forget what you was mad about, because a lot of the things that we get upset about in the relationship, sometimes they're minuscule, and we can just get past it, especially when it's healthy in the bedroom. Mm-hmm. And those are things that some people don't like to talk about, but that's real. Right. I've counseled people who say, again, I ain't doing no fellatio or whatever. But if that's a need that your wife needs, I don't care what your daddy taught you. Your daddy said that, black men don't give fellatio, whatever the case is. Or the woman, now that's nasty. If your mate has a need, in order for you to get to the great mystery of abundant living with your mate, you got to meet that need. I believe, I said it yesterday, that even in the bedroom, nothing should be off limits, really. if it's not nothing dangerous or anything like that. And you should at least try it once, so that it'll look to your mate that you're at least you're trying to meet my needs.
Right.
Well, that was too painful. I tried it. Well, at least you tried it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I think that is the number one thing, is meeting meeting your mate's needs.
Absolutely. And so the third thing that I wanted to touch on is just this idea of, so we know what their needs are. We're going to periodically take an inventory and make sure we're meeting their needs by asking them, are your needs met? And then that usually triggers a conversation. She'll turn around, she'll ask me, are your needs met? And I just got to say, she does a fantastic job. I got to honestly say, like, whatever I say here, that hey babe, I feel like this, we could do a little bit better here or whatever. She's got me immediately, like next day. And so she takes care of me completely. So I'm really excited. I'm just, totally in love with my wife, but she really takes great care of me. But so we got that periodically checking in. And then the next thing is, it has to be a habit. It's got to be something that we do every day. And so for me, particularly after that rocky patch, that was about 3 years ago. And again, that's the only rocky patch we've had. Now, I do basically about an hour every single day, like clockwork, of whatever it is that she tells me she needs the most at that time. So most of the time it's related to cleaning. So take what you're doing now and then try to carve out an extra hour. And it's, I don't ask her every day, what do you want me to do for your hour today? But like I said, every couple of weeks, you're going back in and checking in and redirecting that time somewhere else if they need it. But just trying to take an hour a day for your partner and just say, basically, whatever their highest need is, just do it for that hour a day. I think if you can do something like that, something like, again, for me, it'll be like cleaning and stuff. But if she also loves massages, if she wanted me to give her a massage for an hour a day, it might hurt my hands the first couple of days, but we would make that happen. Whatever her highest need though is, I would just do that for your partner. And if you do that and you're in the habit of doing that every day, it's kind of hard for you not to meet their needs, because you're actively working on it all the time and they see it and they know you're working hard on it, which makes it a whole lot easier for them to turn around and meet your needs. And then, like we said the other day, it's just like a spiral. Both of us are working hard. She sees I'm working hard, so she comes up here and then she beats me a little bit. And then I'm like, oh, she treats me so well. And then I'm like this. And then we're just, back and forth.
Like the dance. The dance is what I call it. It's the dance. Exactly. Okay. So we know about, and we've talked about the good things. What about those who may be on the line so we know what to look for as far as the good stuff. What about those who are in rocky relationships right now? What do you say to them right now to benefit them, to help them get out of the rut that they're in?
Yeah. So for me, one of the earliest things that we had to do when we were very rocky in the beginning, I think the first month we were dating consistently, trying to be in a committed relationship back in college, I think we broke up like 5 times or something. So when I say we were really rocky and arguing all the time, it was rough. And so one of the things that I think is important, particularly if you're not married, but even if you are married, honestly, is this foundation, this respectful communication thing. I think it starts there. And basically, if your partner isn't able to like respect you in your communication, they're trying to talk over you, they're trying to yell at you, they got terrible attitude. Again, particularly if you're not married, you need to break up with that person after you have informed them that, hey, we can't keep communicating like this with each other. If they're not willing to, when you say, hey, hon, you have a tone, hey, hon, you're yelling at me right now, hey, hon, whatever. If they're not willing to correct that behavior and you say, hey, listen, I can't do that in my relationship, and you give it a couple days and they keep doing it, you have to be willing to walk away from your partner when they're not meeting your needs. You meet their needs absolutely, 100%. You gladly and willingly set aside your ego to meet their needs. Yeah. But you give them a warning and you say, hey, you're not meeting my needs here. And if they keep doing it, you have to walk away from them.
I think with that, D, with that being said, with me being truthful and transparent, it's hard. I haven't been in that many relationships, but it's hard for me to walk away from a relationship. I don't know if anybody else is that's listening have ever gone through it, but it's hard. We want to give you the opportunity to get right. Even the word, I'm a word person, my son not, but the word says that God is not slow or slack about his promises. He's just trying to give you time to get right. And we'll find ourselves trying to be God, trying to give you time to get right. Well, time doesn't stand still for anyone. And again, a lot of these signs we see early on. We're just hopeful. So I think that if you're not in a marriage and you're just trying to be in a committed relationship, when you see the signs, it's time to go.
Yeah.
Now, I do believe when you're married, you got to go through a little extra stuff because that's a lifetime commitment. But I'm trying to head you off at the pass. When you see those signs, just walk away. And I get it because my last marriage, I married him 2 or 3 times over a 20-year period, and everything. But so it's hard for me to walk away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Let me jump in there. So the thing you say, you want to give them the opportunity. So first, if they put their hands on you, you don't get any more opportunities. Right. If it's a man or a woman, they ever put their hands on you, it's over. We're not going to be married. We're not going to be in a committed relationship. We're not going to be raising kids where we're fighting each other physically. That's not going to happen. So first of all, that's a red flag. Never again. It's done. But if you're not married, you are giving them the opportunity. So what happens is, let's say you break up with them, but they didn't put their hands on you. You're the girl or the guy has a bad attitude when they're communicating. And so you break it off with them. So what happens is you are now on the free market and you want the best partner that you can find. And you're taking all applications, right? If your partner, so this was what I did with Angelique. I'm taking all applications. Okay. If she says, no, I've made a change, or he says, no, I've made a change, and you kind of go out on a couple dates with them and, oh, it looks like they have changed that, then you take them back and you're willing to keep on working on it. So they still have an opportunity. It's not a deal breaker, but you're just taking all applications. So again, you have plenty of opportunity. If you're in a marriage, I get not wanting to, I do agree with you. You do have to be a little bit slower to walk out. But another issue there is, okay, is the person willing to work on it? Are they willing to go to counseling and therapy? What if they
play like they're willing to work on it? And they'll go to counseling and they do this and they do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it depends on so with me, within, say, no more than 6 months. So if you've got some kind of critical issue or whatever, and we're going to counseling and therapy, and 6 months later, I can't see any difference in your behavior, and it's a deal break, like it's a need that's not being met, I'd let them go. Because let's be real, you're not happy in a relationship. If you've got kids, you're probably not modeling the type of relationship that you want your kids to engage in. And so if you've worked on it, y'all are going to counseling and therapy, and they literally are just not going to meet this need, and there's no movement on this need, then why would you be in that situation if it's a real need for you? You're not happy, and you're not required. You don't want that for yourself. You don't want to set the example to stay in something you're not happy with your kids. And so after a certain amount of time, you just have to walk away. And if you're not, the reality is that's why people are divorcing like this. And that's one of the things I never liked about Kevin Samuels when he was giving all this advice, is because he used to say stuff like, well, woman, if you don't want to put up with, for example, a man, he makes 6 figures, he's got 2 women, and you don't want to put up with him having these other women, then you be prepared to die alone. And the thing is, they would rather die alone than be unhappy. They would rather, yes, thank you. And whenever a woman would say that, he would flip out. He did not like a woman saying, well, if he doesn't want to meet my needs, I'm okay being by myself. And if your partner is disrespecting you, if your partner doesn't ever want to satisfy you in the bedroom or whatever, and it's making you deeply unhappy, you will be happier by yourself. And so you got to be willing to cut those ties. And I think being willing to walk away after giving them a period of time to change and plenty of warnings, you told them what it was, and they still won't do right. That's on them. That's not on them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then sometimes we're blocking our own blessings. What I mean by that, you're holding on to somebody that the universe, for those of you who don't think like me, the universe is telling you to let them go. Or with me, God is saying, I got something better. But you're holding on to the person that's unhealthy for you. You're holding on to the person who don't fully commit. You're holding on to the person who won't communicate. That's a cocktail for disaster. So now, if you see some improvement, the only thing that gets tricky, I think, is because some people will do better long enough to stay in. Do you understand what I'm saying? Some people will just do better. Oh my God, I got to keep the kitchen clean. Oh my God, I got to pick up after myself. They'll do it for a short period of time. But you got to, if you're the person that need to change, you got to be consistent. There got to be some consistency. You can't do good for you set the whole house on fire, and then you come back and you just start and you pour the foundation, but then you walk away before you get the walls up. And that's what some of us do. Some of us do better for a short period of time, just long enough to stay. And so we got to be discerning or to know the difference in what's real and what's not. Because the universe, or in my case, the enemy, will set you up to make things look like that they're better. But they don't need to look like they better. They need to be better.
Right.
At whatever cost. If you got to go to therapy, if you got to stay in therapy. I have seen people that while they were in therapy, they're doing great. But if they stop doing therapy, they slide back. That don't mean that they're a bad person, but you might just be the person that needs long-term therapy until that complete change comes. I'll give you an example. There were times in my crack smoking that I said I wasn't going to smoke crack anymore. And I meant it. I'm not smoking crack no more. So I would do what it took to stop smoking crack in that moment. And then I would think to myself, I got it lit now. So I'm good. I can go back to my normal routine and I'm not going to smoke. And then I'll find myself getting high again. That's the same in a relationship, especially with cheating, especially with money issues. The main things that break up relationships is bedroom and money. So that's why truth brings about trust. That's why we need truth and transparency. Because you'll trick your own self.
Right.
I tricked my own self. I stayed clean one time 364 days. And I was in Knoxville and I had a job and I was all thick and I was cute and my color done came back and I'm like, I'm going to get my kids and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I was being, that's what I really had a desire for. But then that other part of me wanted somebody to see me clean. And so I wanted the ones that I used to get high with to see me clean, you know. And so sometimes we'll test ourselves too soon and we'll fall. Sometimes I taught on a couple of weeks ago, back to the basics. We got to do what it takes to stay in a good place.
Right.
If you are somebody that need to talk to somebody, talk to them. You need to invest in your own self. Right. If you're somebody who do not need credit cards, cut them up. If you're somebody who is in a committed relationship, but all of your friends are single, that's a no-no. Some things are given. So we got to stop giving excuses. But I wanted to say this. In order to have a healthy relationship, we have to first be committed. Then we got to learn to communicate. And then we can celebrate. Yo go.
So one of the things you talked about is them changing for a minute and then going back. Yeah. So when Angelique and I were going through that pattern, if every time they come back, you can tell they made a change, and they're smart. First of all, they're smart and intelligent, which why are you with a person who's dumb? If your partner should be an intelligent person, okay? And you're going way out of your way to meet all their needs. So they know you're a good partner, and they do want to keep you, right? Sometimes letting them go and them knowing that you are perfectly willing to let them go. If they do really want to be with you, they are really trying hard to make these changes. Yes. And so what we did we probably broke up dozens of times, but every time we would get back together, she would be a little better, a little bit more calm in her communication, a little bit more reasonable when we were having a disagreement, a little bit more affectionate and playful. And it would just be a little bit better until next thing you know, like in this point of our relationship, there's virtually no tensions, voices raised. I mean, it's almost never. We might have one disagreement, but it doesn't look like yelling and arguing. I can't even remember the last time, even when we had a rocky patch 3 years ago. No yelling and arguing was part of that. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so you just kind of get better and better. But I do think that the first key is laying down that respectful communication, because that's really the tool that you use to figure out all your other issues and to address those other issues. And definitely, if they're not willing to communicate with you like that, just kind of, you got to push them away. And if they get better, they come back, that's fine. If they don't, that's fine.
Then that's fine. Well, let me touch on something else as well. And I know that you did a lot of work. I tell people relationships may be hard, but they're simple. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's hard sometimes, especially if we wasn't raised seeing a healthy relationship, or different things. We've been hurt, this and other. It may be hard, but it's simple. You gotta be truthful. You gotta trust, and you gotta be trustworthy. But I've dealt with broken trust. Every relationship bad. And I think that if you're the one that broke trust, you need to understand that you have to earn trust once it's been broken. It's not freely given to you anymore. But you got the easiest way to do it, though, is just know that being truthful and transparent brings about trust. Because there's a lot of things when you think about the statistics in relationships, there's only 2 or 3 things statistically that they say will mess up a relationship when you got somebody that you want to be with. And I want to say this, and then I'm gonna let you talk. But my head is spinning right now. I'm gonna tell you something else that most people don't agree with, but I believe this to be true. Mm-hmm. Love will not keep you in a relationship. I can expound on that.
Okay.
I can love you to life, but if my needs aren't being met, I gotta love you from a distance. Mm-hmm. Sometimes say, well, I just didn't love him enough, or I don't love him no more. Well, if you've ever loved that person, you still love that person, because love actually never ends. The dynamics of love may change, but if you love that person, that love is still there. Mm-hmm. But sometimes we gotta put our big boy drawers and our big girl panties on and love people from a distance.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with what everything that you're saying there. When I was kind of dating, and I had a situation where basically I remember normal acts of affection between me and my wife now. Sometimes she would just not be up for it. The way she was raised was just different. Right. And so with me, like, it hurt me. Like, if I try to hold your hand or whatever, and we're not arguing or anything, and she's like, nah, I just don't want to hold your hand. We got no problems. Everything's fine. But she just didn't want to do that. And that was fine, for her, because at the time, even her own family, they didn't hug, or they had a different way of relating with each other.
Right.
And so it took us a while to get there. But that's the type of thing for me, like, no matter what, I was deeply in love with her. But if I had to be with someone who I could never hug because they just didn't like it, that would be a situation where I would have to love them from a distance, because just like you say, you do have to absolutely meet their needs. You got to set your ego aside when you're meeting their needs, and just do whatever they need to make them happy. But yeah, if they're not meeting your needs, you're not going to be happy in the long term, and you do just have to let them go. And about the transparency thing, this is something I know we talked about this yesterday, but it blows my mind, because I can't understand how you can say, I am being faithful, I am being trustworthy, I am being transparent, but you can't look at my phone. You can't know where I am. You can't know any of my passwords. That's weird. That's weird behavior. It's a red flag. I think somebody made a comment yesterday, but like, well, sometimes men just feel like you're being controlling if you want to know where they are. No. If a man, if you want to believe him when he says, I just want to be with a person that trusts me, you can fall for that all you want to. That's fine. But if he's saying, hey, you cannot know where I am because it bothers me, I just want someone who trusts me completely without being able to check, then you can be a fool if you want to. That's fine. But that is a completely unreasonable ask. And it's silly. And if you want to put yourself in a position to be like mistreated like that, that's on you. But a normal person who's not doing anything is not going to come up to you and be like, I just don't want you to know where I am. That's weird.
Let me talk to those who accept that behavior.
Let me just say this too, because you have to understand that even if because some people do value their privacy, so they want their privacy. But their need for privacy is so much smaller than your need for the ability to hold people accountable, that they're not comparable at all. And so if they can't understand that your need to hold them accountable and just to have total transparency is more important than their need to feel a little bit of a privacy invasion or whatever, then that's on them. But normal people understand that those are not comparable. And so they're perfectly willing to let you see everything because they're not doing anything. And even if they were doing anything and they got caught, a normal person would be like, oh, you caught me. I was wrong, and y'all keep it moving.
Right. But let me talk to those who accept that behavior. And especially if you're not married and you're just single. if you accept that behavior or that well, I'm just saying you can't see my phone, or you don't want, and you go along with that, and you know that that's something you're uncomfortable with, you might need to do a self-evaluation with yourself. Why are you not allowing yourself to love on your own self enough? Some of us don't love ourselves enough to step out and walk away and love people from a distance. Some of us, I counseled a person once, and I called her husband in, and her husband would tell her, ain't nobody gonna want you with them 4 kids. The devil is a liar. You don't have to put up with nothing. God have created you as a awesome vessel. So you gotta pick and choose yourself. I tell them all the time, D, it's the airplane effect. The first thing they tell you on the airplane, the stewardess said, we have a message. If the plane gets rocky and it starts to rock, the oxygen gonna drop down, but you are to put the oxygen on yourself first, and then help somebody else. So sometimes we're dying on the inside because we're not telling people what we really need, and we're allowing bad behavior to be forced upon us in these relationships. And so I want to tell everybody, and I'm talking to myself, because periodically we need to still do a self-check. You don't have to put up with no mess and junk. You don't have to. You need to love yourself more than that. You need to know that, and I got this running across, truth brings about trust. If I can't trust you from extramarital affairs, if I can't trust you with the money, if I can't trust you with the kids, if I can't trust you with your conversation, I can't trust you with your spirituality, if I can't trust you, hey, then we can't parlay. We can't do the dance. We can't achieve the great mystery. I'm wasting my time. Right. So some of us just need to do an evaluation and see if you're wasting your time. See if the good outweighs the bad.
Women in particular, about the wasting time thing, that's so important when you're younger, and you can't let men who aren't meeting your needs waste your time, because you can go off and find another person to meet your needs. So you have to go ahead and use your time wisely. But even if you're past that age or whatever, the idea is you want peace of mind, and you can achieve peace of mind by yourself if you're willing to walk away from people who aren't meeting your needs, versus stay in this situation where your needs aren't being met, where you're not happy, where you're stressed out. You got to worry about somebody draining your bank account or not doing their part in the household, etc. Just being by yourself allows you to have peace. So don't let like the fear of being alone, but you would have peace of mind, keep you in a situation that's rocky and stressful, and the person's not doing what you need. And there are plenty of people out there for you to meet and date and create new relationships with. So just this idea of clinging to somebody who's treating you poorly, I mean, it's silly. It's worth it.
Yeah, and again, you're blocking the person who's gonna treat you good can't come in because you're holding on to somebody else. The thing that I say all the time is, it's 2 places that your mama don't want to go. For those who just came on, this is my biological son, my firstborn, and I love him. He's an awesome father, awesome husband, and so we're talking about is successful relationships possible, and the things that we need to do to have healthy relationships. But there's 2 places that I tell people I don't want to go. That's to jail, back to jail, or to hell. And so if you are doing something to me, and this is not just in my marriage, this is y'all children, I'll step back from you. my own kids. I love y'all and everything, but y'all ain't sending me to jail or hell. I can't go there no more. In with my husband or up here at my business, I'm up here at the office. I'm not going to jail or hell for nobody. I would rather walk away from you and love you from a distance. And I'm not gonna be stuck miserable. I can honestly say though, I gotta give Perry a little bit of props. I can honestly say that he makes me happy in a sense that I've never had before.
Yeah.
In a relationship.
Mhm.
I'll give him that.
Mhm.
But I have told him, don't make me leave you, because I'll leave too. You know what I mean? Because self-preservation is good. Now, I'm not saying that you make excuses to leave and do something different. Yeah. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if your relationship has become unhealthy, if it has become violent, if there's physical fighting, there's things we talked about, deal breakers yesterday. There in a marriage, there really shouldn't be deal breakers too much, but there's certain things that you do not have to put up with. But I'm talking to those. I'm married, my son is married, but I'm talking to those who are dating and you putting up with any and everything. You don't need to do that. Stop wasting time. It's like God is trying to put good things in your hand, but you got a fist balled up, so he can't get anything in. You need to do a self-evaluation and see if you're loving on you. Do you know, son? I got my preacher tone on now. Do you know that you can't give away anything you don't possess? If you don't possess self-love, how can you love anybody else? That's where a lot of the problems start at. You don't love yourself, but you're expecting somebody else to love you. You can't be a blessing if you're not blessed. So you got to work on you. And what is happening in this day and time is so many unhealthy people is trying to jump into relationships and think that it's going to be healthy. Well, if you're unhealthy emotionally, spiritually, mentally, financially, there's no way for you to connect with somebody else and that relationship be healthy.
Right. Definitely.
You can't even expect that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that willingness to walk away as well helps the other person too, because nobody wants to live with regret. And you and I have said it, we said it on the show yesterday. This idea that I'm going to have a good partner in front of me and I'm going to let them go, knowing how hard it is to find a good partner and cultivate a good relationship, that's never going to happen. I'm never going to have a good partner and me walk away. You will never see a day where Angelique is treating me right, and because of all the money I'm making or because of X, Y, and Z, I leave her and my kids, or no kids. It could be kids out of the house, and I find a new woman and I want to divorce my wife and get with someone. That will never happen. I will never drop a good partner. And the reason is because they are hard to find. They are a rare commodity out here. And even when you find them, you've got to work hard to build a relationship up to a point where you want to spend the rest of your life with them. So I would never do that. And so if you are that type, if you're being that type of person for your partner, and they're smart and they know you're a rare commodity and they know y'all have been working hard on the relationship, they're not going to want to leave you or walk away from you either, because that would cause them a lot of regret. So you showing that you're willing to walk away from them and they're like, oh, this is real. Like, oh, this person will actually do this. I need to get right. And I think it actually winds up keeping people from getting what they need from their partner, because their partner is taking them for granted. But it's nothing like walking away from them to help them understand that you're serious and you mean business. And if they love you and they're willing to take care of you, they will change their behavior.
Yeah. Yeah, so I tell y'all guys, this time goes by so fast. You guys, go ahead and tell my son thank you for him coming on, sharing his words of wisdom. I hope it said, Tanya Mitchell said, yes, Lil D, real is hard to find.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But I want to challenge you to be real. I want to challenge you to be the realest that you can be. Cut out some of this foolishness and hone in your blessings, because you have the right, the ability, the authority, and permission to live an abundant life. So there's a lot of people on the line, a lot of my classmates from high school, Don Reese, Tanya Mitchell, everybody on the line. Hey, Tony Capehart, Nate, I thank y'all so very much. Mother Janice, everybody is saying thank you for coming on, D.
Yeah,
it's truly been a blessing. My son, he don't know it yet, you guys, but he's gonna become my co-host on the show, and we're gonna be doing some great things together. But we just gotta be real. And the thing that I want you guys to take away is truth brings about trust, and we have to be committed, communicate, and then we can celebrate. Okay, what's your take for today? And we're gonna land it out.
Thank y'all for joining in with us. Thank you, Mom, for having me. And the three things that I just wanted to reiterate here is about making sure you're identifying their needs. Check out that His Needs, Her Needs book and accompanying workbook, and work through it with your partner. Check in with your partner every month or so, make sure you're meeting their needs, and then try to carve out an hour a day just to do the one thing that makes your partner consistently happy in a relationship. And I guarantee you your relationships will improve. So,
all right. Well, Dee, thank you so very much for being my co-host. I have loved you being my co-host. We definitely got to do this again. We talked yesterday briefly, you guys. We got so much that we can talk about. I love the fact that a lot of things we're on the same page with, but a lot of things we're not. Some things we're not. But that's because people need to hear both sides of a thing. And I tell people all the time, you are the male version of me in a lot of areas: the bedroom area, the money making area, the relationship, loving on relationships and things like that. And so I thank God for you. Again, for those who don't know, this is my firstborn, my biological child, you guys, my oldest, and my son. So I really appreciate you. I thank God for not only you, I thank God for Angelique. I believe that she is a beautiful wife for you. She's not my daughter-in-law. She's my daughter-in-love. And I appreciate the love that she gives to you.
Absolutely. Me too. Me too.
Uh-oh. I'm trying to cry. Oh. Angelique said I love you too, Angelique. And I thank God that we're able to get on here and talk about I did not raise him. I didn't raise him. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that show too one day. Tiffany said, great job raising him. I give homage to my ex-in-laws, his grandparent, his grandma, and his granddad for that. But we've always had a really, really great relationship, and he didn't hold my past against me. Everybody, not everybody, but most people know that I was drug addicted for a long time. And so I had lost him at one time, but he is an amazing son. His love for me.
Yeah, Absolutely love my mom. Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, you guys, I'm gonna go on and close out because I'll get to crying and we don't want to do that. But I thank God for you, son. It has been a blessing, and I appreciate all of you who came here on the Talk Box. Y'all know that we're here Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. We'll see y'all on Monday. All right. Wave to the people, D, while we sing the music. Hold on. I messed up earlier today. But God bless you guys. Have a good day.
You're listening to the Talk Box inside. You're listening to the Talk Box. Let's talk about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah, you're listening to the Talk Box inside. You're listening to the Talk Box. Let's talk about it.